Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And continuing, this is the Mesillas Yesharim. This is part 16. That's by the Ramchal, Way of the Upright or Path to the Just. And it's from Art School. I will include a link below. So, continuing from last time, which was cut a little short, we were talking finally on the trait of Zehirus, which is vigilance, and just got through just some of the basics about it. Monitor your actions, determine whether they're good or not, see through life not like routine, just kind of giving you a brief of what I mentioned. You should always analyze your actions and paths, and act in a manner self-analysis. What else did he say here? And those who fail to exercise the Zehirus, it can be a danger because it's like a blind person walking on the edge of a riverbank. So, continuing on from there, and see how long I get. I'm going to see what time it is. Okay, just to make sure I don't go too long. So, the harm of this willful blindness that he's talking about has already been taught by the prophets. M.L.M said, bemoan the corruption of the people of his generation. And he said, on account of their being afflicted with the plague of this trait. It might be thought, and the commentary says, it might be thought that someone who lives without Zehirus is simply lacking the benefit of its protection, and it is in danger only of potential problems. However, by describing the generation of M.L.M as afflicted with the plague of this trait, he teaches that the trait of following routine, excuse me, without engaging in self-analysis is in itself a plague. So following that routine at itself is a plague. Awareness is an absolute necessity for spiritual growth and is the pivotal point around which the entire work of Mesillas Yesharim revolves. And it says, see Rabbi Yerucham Lubavitz and Das Torah, page 157. So, continuing on, he says that on account of this being afflicted with the plague, they would avert their eyes from their deeds, without paying attention to examining the nature of those deeds, whether they should be performed or abandoned. So M.L.M said again of them in 8:6, no man relents of his evil, saying, what have I done? They all follow their course like a horse racing headlong in war, meaning they don't think, I guess, that they did anything wrong. I'm just adding that. So that is they raced along on the path of life, following the course of their ingrained habits and ways. So they just kept doing what they were used to doing, without leaving themselves time to scrutinize their habitual deeds and ways. And as a result, they would fall into evil without even noticing. Meaning, because they keep doing what they're always used to doing, they're just going to fall into the bad, unfortunately. So, commentary here, Rabbi Charna, excuse me, sees in this passage the subtle lesson that the need for introspection applies not only to the unlearned, but even to the accomplished scholars. The generation of M.L.M was steeped in Torah study. Yet he compared them all to horse racing headlong into danger, apparently. He meant to chastise even the scholars among them, for they did not devote the same degree of intensity to introspection and fear of Hashem as they did to other areas of study, Torah study, so meaning that was not as much looked into. So this leads to a lack of sincerity in the Torah study itself, and to a deficiency of reverence for the word of Hashem, which in turn was a major factor in the destruction of the temple in that generation. Thus we see that even Torah study does not exempt one from devoting serious time to introspection. In a similar vein, Rabbi Yonah states in Shari 2, 3:15, that even one who performs mitzvot is in spiritual danger if he performs them by rote and does not constantly invest effort in cultivating the fear of Hashem. Meaning, you do it because you're used to doing it instead of, realizing what you're supposed to be thinking about when you're doing these things. It happens to all of us, so that's, something to just think about. Continuing on, I think I'll just do probably another page or two. So considering that the folly of this way of life is obvious, why is it so difficult for man to avoid? Meaning if this is so obvious to everyone, why can't we avoid it? However, this is actually one of the tactics of the Yetzirah, the evil inclination. And it's cunning to burden people's mind constantly with its toil, to the point that they are not left with free time to contemplate and examine which path in life they are traveling. Commentary says, I don't have the time. This is the primary rationalization of those who do not make the effort to contemplate their direction. The Yetzirah invests ways to keep a person so occupied with various tasks, meaning toiling in those tasks, that one thinks he has no spare time. Thus, while people find time for any number of what they call important activities each day, they foolishly claim to have no time for introspection, the most critical activity of all, as from Matnas Chelko. So meaning you're always rationalizing that you don't have time for anything, meaning this, that's important, but other things you do. So that's the problem. So, and it goes on, so the Yetzer Hara knows that if people would pay just a bit more attention to their ways, they would undoubtedly begin to reconsider their improper actions immediately, and their regret for their misdeeds would grow continually stronger, until ultimately they would forsake the path of sin completely. So, commentary of Cheskel Levenstein says in Ar Cheskel that while many try at some point in their lives to study mussar with real introspection, as Ramchal urges, experience shows that this reflection does not usually blossom enough to remove one's inclination to sin. Why, yes, do we so often go merrily back to our old ways as soon as we put down the mussar text? So he explains that the Ramchal's guarantee that one who engages in introspection will forsake sin completely works only if a person sets aside fixed times for introspection. That's in the next chapter. It's going to talk about that. Without being simultaneously occupied with worldly matters. So you have to have fixed times to do this. Meaning it's like a muscle. You have to keep working it or else you're going to falter. You're going to fall away from it. So that's important. Unfortunately, however, one is often so caught up in his daily concerns that the mussar exercise is diluted by the competing pull of material goals. If one first frees his mind and life from all of the distractions, then his introspection is certain to have the desired results. Meaning, you'll have the results of what Ramchal is promising, guaranteeing you, but only if it becomes a regular. Meaning, put it in your schedule. If you don't have a schedule, write down, study mussars. Study the fear of cultivating fear of Hashem. Put that down. Make yourself a big note, and spend the time. Even if it's a few minutes, it's a continual thing you have to do. Okay, continuing on. So hence, to prevent people from breaking with habit and improving their ways, the Yetzer Hara employs the tactic of keeping them too preoccupied to think seriously about their path in life. So that's what he tries to do. Gets you away from that. There's other things that are more important, right? Such a tactic was actually employed in ancient times by a human oppressor. Who was that? This is similar to the plan of Paro, the wicked king of Egypt, who said when Moshe and Aaron appeared before him to petition for the release of the Israelites, Shemos 5:9, let the work be heavier upon the men, he said, and let them not pay attention to false words. For Paro intended not to leave the Israelites any free time at all, so that they should not be able to even consider rebellion or formulate a plot against him. So rather, he endeavored to divert their minds from any contemplation of such matters through the pressure of constant unremitting labor. By doing all this work, they never had time to think. So commentary says that when Paro ordered that the workload be increased, it was not for the purpose of punishment, nor to fill quotas. Rather, his intention was the work should be constant without a break. This would prevent rebellion, since the Israelites would not have time to even think about their plight. Paro did not need more straw for bricks. He meant to keep the Israelites so busy that they could not even consider the possibility of freedom. So that's what his plan was. So this is precisely the strategy that the Yetzer Hara employs against people. For the Yetzer Hara is a great warrior experiencing cunning, and it is impossible to escape the Yetzer Hara, except through much wisdom and great foresight. So here commentary says, how does the Yetzer Hara manage to keep a person constantly busy? So Itzel Peter Berger says in Shari Or, points out two ways. Number one, he keeps one constantly involved with his physical needs, such as the struggle to earn a livelihood, additional burden of amassing sufficient funds to acquire the luxuries that people view as necessities. Number two, in whatever time is left after one's needs are met, the Yetzer Hara manages to keep one occupied in pursuits of leisure and idle pleasures, rather than in meaningful and essential analysis. So first he wants you to do your physical needs, and then he wants you to do other pleasures. So that keeps you away from everything else that's important. So this constant assault on one's time and attention cannot be overcome unless one has the wisdom to recognize that the boundless pursuit of physical comfort is a frivolous expenditure of his most precious resource, time, and one has the foresight to designate specific periods of time for introspection. Since, as Ramchal has stated, one who sets aside such time is guaranteed to forsake the path of sin, the Yetzer Hara invests his resources in preventing this step. So that's what he does. So let me just check the time here. I think I could go a little bit longer. Didn't take too long. So probably just do one more page here. And then almost finish actually with chapter 2. I don't think we're going to finish it today. Chapter 2 is shorter than the introduction chapter. But maybe I'll continue on here. Or maybe, let's see, how long did I go? Let me just check again. So yeah, it's about 10 minutes. So maybe I will stop here and finish it next time. Next time will be just a little bit longer. We'll keep it a little shorter. I think that's okay. So that's what we have to do. spend time with introspection. Don't let the Yetzer Hara take away that time. So that's important. So, and I hope and pray that we all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final, ever and lasting Beis Hamikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.